The government. Now we invite the member of the opposition.
Thank you for yielding the floor this time. I want to get a little refutation, and then I'm going to get to my point of positive matter. Going off what the first speaker, the last speaker just said, they talked about winners of a lottery. She did, and I would say that doesn't matter, right? Because we're talking about values here, and we're talking about a better society by having better leaders in charge. Whether or not they were lucky because they got the lucky break, or because they were just darn good at managing a company and making a profit, which benefits everyone in society. And then she talked about unfairness, and that's really nice to hear, but that's not really important to this. And she said how a reward is bad. Really, but isn't that what we all do in society, is try to get a reward? Isn't that why you have a doctor who treats you, right, because they went to school so that they could make money and help people? Like, that's a reward, it's an incentive. But doctors make $100,000 a year. That's atrocious. So they shouldn't be making that much money, so should we take their money away from it? And then she said CEOs are inherited. No, CEOs are appointed by a board, and usually they appoint the best CEO who applies for the job. Then she talked about hard labor, which is a great communist utilitarian ideal that, all these people that are working in the field shouldn't have to or should, make as much as a CEO. Well, that's not the world we live in, and we don't want to live in that world because that's called theft, when you steal money from the rich and you give to the poor. And then she goes in the French Revolution, which, apparently this is a debate about communism because she wants to overthrow the corporate structure, which we are going to propose is a great ideal, right? We're going to propose on this side that the capitalist system, where free people freely engage with one another, is the best system that we have, right? It's a system that brought more people out of poverty and helped more people become a part of this middle class where we all are paid pretty good wages for what we do. And we're going to say that society advances and is better because of these corporations who are competing for our dollar, who are competing to make better products, right? So what are they going to do over here by having less quality of CEOs in charge of companies? Well, they're going to hurt the workers, and they're going to hurt society, right? Because we'll have a less robust business environment, which means less people have jobs and less, the economy doesn't grow as much. So this side over here also, we're going to stand here to say, must prove that the salary theft, or whatever you want to call it over here, is the only and best solution. Because time and time again, we say that if a CEO does not perform, then the board of directors who appointed them, who hired them, could fire them. So unless they can prove to the judge that the salary cap stealer thing, whatever they want to call it, is the only solution, we stand here saying that is a bad solution, because less people are going to want to be good leaders of companies, because they know if the economy crashes next year, I'm not going to make any money because this rule is taking all of my salary. And we know how the economy has been in the last few years, pretty terrible. So this side over here would have all of the corporate leaders not making any money, right? Because of the economic situation of the last 5 years in the recession. So let me get into refutation, right? Let me get into my positive matter. We're going to contend that corporate executives are responsible for the well-being of their company. Therefore, it's most important that we trust the corporate executives who are appointed by the board. Second, that shareholders and board of directors know best. Therefore, they should be making the decisions on how much they pay. And third, that special interests in governments and unions like this side would have you believe don't have the best interests of mind for a corporation. So let me get into the first, as I said. Corporate executives are responsible for the well-being of the company. Now earlier, the second speaker said, if a worker doesn't do the job, then they get a reprimand. And we actually agree, because they get fired, and that's exactly what it is. So the corporate executive who's in charge of steering the company making a profit, their only job, right, as we discussed, is to make a profit. They do go under the stress, they do have, this experience and education, and we agree. But they're over here are going to kill the potential for more people to become CEOs and compete to be the best they can be. Because we're gonna have less leaders, and then all CEOs, like I said, are going to suffer from this because we're going to take away their money if you support this plan. So why do shareholders and board of directors know best for the company? That's their second point. Well, they are within it, right? So I've never been a part of Costco, and I don't know how Costco works, but I'm going to know that Costco's board of directors, the people that own stock in that company, they're going to probably appoint someone that can grow and expand Costco's company. And I'm not going to say that we should have John Smith in charge of Costco, or John Smith should make X dollars or X dollars $100. That board of directors should do it. And actually have a fatal flaw in their plan, because the topic says corporate executives, but there's millions of limited liability corporations in America, which is a tax structure that tons of small businesses use. My father owns a landscaping company, so he is the CEO and the chairman of the board of the landscaping company that he owns. He's the only person that owns this. So they're going to say somehow that he should be affected by this policy. And limited liabilities are absolutely have corporate executives on their board because they're in charge of them. So, third, special interest in government unions don't know or have the best interest in mind, right? We're proving this because they're saying over here that they just want to have this white and black policy, which doesn't work. Because boards can fire people, which is the best way to get rid of someone if they're screwing over your company. If you're driving GM to the ground, you can fire that CEO. You don't have to take their salary for the last year. And there's tons of different structures that CEOs have. You can give a CEO a salary of $1 a year, like actually Ford's CEO took, voluntarily. You can have a bonus only. You can have stock options. And we have tons of CEOs that have been good that have done this, right? Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, right? The founder and leader of Whole Foods started Whole Foods out of his basement, and now he's the CEO of Whole Foods. And they would have you contend that that man who started Whole Foods to benefit society, to make it a better place, to get more people to eat organic and fresh food, should make less money because last year the economy tanked, right? But the board of directors love him, and he's done a good thing for society. And it's interesting that we had a question over here on POI about people somehow becoming CEOs and they can't do it, unless they have chance or whatever. Walmart's new CEO was a store manager before, climbing all the way up the corporate ladder and showing how good he was before he became the CEO. So unless they can prove that this is the only way, this is the best way, we clearly have shown you that this goes against the capitalistic principles, which has done more good for society in the world, in the history of the world, than anything else. So unless they can prove that this is the only option, we've shown you far too many examples of how this hurts it. So that's why we stand here and win. Thank you.
Thank the member of the opposition. Now we